good?
If I can feel it in my chest. It feels very soothing and nice.
It's a little ASMR to start off the show.
Your voice feels very nice too.
It was very soothing, wasn't it?
It was. Oh my goodness.
So how about the fact that how awkward, right? How awkward does it feel to talk shit to your rival when you're in the bottom third of the table? Like, I would never.
Can't feel good.
I would never. How the posturing that comes along with that? Like, how do you feel good about yourself talking up? Because if that was like a real life scenario, and I'm Goliath and you're David, and you're doing that or looking up at me, you might think that you can sling that fucking rock, but man, I'm gonna bop you on top of your head the next time you talk.
Real quick.
Real freaking quick. Yeah. We've got some crazy stuff tonight. We've got some special viewers in the audience tonight we're really happy to have here. We'll talk about them in a little. Before we get to that, welcome to the Snobby Boys! That's not the right one! Welcome to the Snobby Boy Podcast. I'm your host, Colby. That's not my homeboy Joe. That's my homeboy Joe over there. Oh, man. So we're going to be obviously talking about City. Before we do, make sure that you hit the like. Make sure you hit the subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell to get all of our updates. Make sure that you also follow us on social media at Snobby Pod. Also, before we get too far, do you see that right there below me? See that right there? Go ahead and check that out. Right, that's our store. We've got tons of merch in there. Give it a look when you got some time. So, Joe, what are we into tonight?
Tonight we will be discussing in full the Fulham recap. See what I did there?
Ha ha
ha. We will also be talking. Yeah, hey, that's an early air horn tonight. It's gonna be a good night tonight.
It's gonna be a good night. Let's go.
We will be jumping into the city news that have popped up over the last 3-4 days since we were last on.
Yep.
A little bit of preview for there, a little bit of life after Rodri again, since we're getting another game under our belts without him. Kev and Nathan have some injury updates that we'll talk through. Quick update on the ladies and the EDS. They are both doing very well. And then we will be doing a quick shout out to the South Stand for their behavior in the weekend, which was 100% awesome. And then we'll wrap it up with our usual bro talk. We might chat a little bit about our kiddos' soccer weekend. We'll touch on a little bit more serious note and talk about the hurricane situation in Tennessee and North Carolina and what's been going on over here in the States with all of that. So we'll wrap up tonight's podcast with those two topics and see what other happenings come up as we go.
Yes, sir.
So Fulham. Let's talk Fulham, man. A lot of mixed feelings here. How did you feel going into tuning in for this one?
I mean, going into it, seeing as where they're at on the table, I felt a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie. They've been performing well. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the fucking landscapers decided they wanted to show up right fucking now. Does anybody? Do you not hear that? Just a tiny bit. Okay, cool. I can hear it more than you can hear it. That's all that matters. Yeah, going into it, I felt like it was. We could handle this, but this could also be a trap game. This could also be oops, we slipped up. Especially walking into international break, considering that we've had accrued quite a few injuries. We're not seeing quite the same 11 every time we go out, which, I mean, with as much depth as we have, we have the ability to do that, and that's fucking awesome. But on the whole, I felt like I said, this was conquerable. The score line, I could have saw a little bit more goal difference in this one. We certainly showed our butts in this one defensively, but on the whole, yeah, I felt this was conquerable. What about you?
Yeah, even with Fulham doing well in the table, they've been in the top half, top like third-ish, pretty much all season. They've been playing some pretty good ball under Marco Silva. What up, Nick?
What's up,
Thanks for
Nick?
joining us, brother. Again, man, good to see you in here. Repeat
3
offender.
weeks in a row.
I'm
Well, 3
stoked.
episodes in a row.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's
So,
awesome.
uh, a, a little nervous because of what you had just mentioned with the international break coming up. Typically, that last match before a bunch of the players, especially because we have so many that go off onto international duty, it can kind of be a bit of a trap type game where maybe everybody's focus isn't entirely upon the match. Um, so that one definitely had me nervous too because th- you would like it to be against maybe an easier opponent going into
Right,
that, so you can kind of chill a little bit and maybe
right.
put a three in early, and then you can kind of coast.
Yeah.
But with
Kind of
Fulham,
like how Wrexham's getting to play Wolves U21.
exactly.
Okay.
So
You got it.
yes, yes. So I was hopeful. I in our on our IG, you had posted, score, what predictions kind of thing. I thrown 3-1 out there. I felt pretty good about that towards the end of the match, and then fucking what's his name, Muniz, in the
Who knows?
87th had to go ahead and screw up my perfect score prediction. I was gonna be thumping my chest tonight had that held, but meaningless goal at the end there as far as results go. But goal differential down the road might be more meaningful. But I felt good. The squad rotation piece that you mentioned too was kind of something that weighed on me because when we're typically hitting on all cylinders, there's not a whole lot of difference in the starting 11 when Pep throws them out there. We kind of see some more of the same names than we've been seeing because of the congestion with the Carabao Cup, with
Mhm.
Champions League, and everything. We've had to rotate a bit more, and then with the injuries, um, Pep's trying to see what's going to work post Rodri too. So we haven't really been able to find that groove yet.
Nope.
But the good thing is, along those same lines, is we're still getting results. We're not losing. We're not dropping a whole lot of points
Mhm.
where we should be getting them. Away to Newcastle and Arsenal, considering what happened, a draw in those matches really isn't the worst result in the world. So we're not dropping points to teams like the Fulhams, like Wolves, like those kind of clubs. We're still getting our 3 points even when we're not playing at our best. And I don't think yesterday was not one of our best matches, but we
Nope.
came away with 3 points for sure. So
Yep.
that's my initial takeaway and feelings going up to the game was we need the 3 points. However, we get those 3 points, that's what matters. And then go into break, let Pep get 2 weeks of prep time to review the film of the matches that we've had recently, and then come up with a game plan moving forward on who's going to be playing. And we're getting some guys back, which we'll talk about on the second half of the show. Hopefully after the international break, which will help things
Well,
quite a bit.
let's dive into the fear of international break real quick.
Yeah,
We don't know that we're going to get everybody back.
that part. Yeah, knock on wood that
Knock
everybody
on wood,
comes
we
back
do.
healthy.
Knock on wood, we do, because right now where we're at, especially with the goal differential and literally the mirror image of Arsenal sitting right behind us,
Mm-hmm.
there's not wiggle room at the top right now. This is a tight race, and it's going to be a tight race the rest of the season if it stays the way that it is. The way that Aston Villa is performing, not only in the Premier League but also in the Champions League, that's scary to think about. I don't think a lot of people have put them really that far on their radar yet. I hope so. I don't, what was their result
For Villa
today
in the
for
champ.
Villa?
Oh, they drew with United today.
That's right. They drew with United today,
And then
which
midweek they beat Bayern in the Champions League.
they beat Vinny.
And
They beat
then
Vinny.
and along the same lines, Chelsea's been playing really good ball too. They're sitting on 14 points, just like Villa. So there are multiple. And Brighton's playing good. I mean, Newcastle's still doing a pretty good job too. So it's not going to be an easy path in the Prem this year. There's going to be a lot of teams, and there's going to be some fluctuation, obviously, in the top four, which we will stay in our usual 1, 2, 3 spot throughout the year. But like you mentioned, it's definitely going to be a
very tight race.
We 100%
agree
back this statement, Nick.
Yep. Well, that's right, because we'll be here to entertain you throughout the international break. So
big fact.
And thank you for being here 3 weeks in a row. That makes you 6 episodes in. We love having you here. We love having you in the comments.
Greatly appreciate it, man.
Thanks for being here, man. That's all I can say on that. Who was your central guy in this match? I mean, we know that Kova, he scored 2 brilliant goals, and it was due for him, to be honest. Who was somebody else in here that you felt was a complete and total game changer for this match?
For game changer, at the risk of sounding biased because of the position my oldest daughter plays as a keeper, I'm going with Ederson, man. Like, he had multiple 1v1 stops against Adama Traore, who is a nuisance for Kyle and Rico at multiple times. And
we'll get into that a little bit.
And without Ederson yesterday, we probably lose that match, because for all of the talk that he's not a good shot stopper, that Ortega is the superior 1v1 guy, and all of that, that noise needs to stop ASAP, because yesterday Eddie made some. It wasn't like the 1v1 opportunities were easy stops. He had to come out, close the proper angle down, and get down quick, because Traore was trying to just play the ball past his feet, and he got down and made some brilliant 1v1 stops on top of his always brilliant distribution. So I thought Ederson, for me,
butthole puckering at times. Let's be real.
Hey, and you accept that with the player that he is, because that's just who he is. He's going to be that guy. And as much as the puckering happens, I love it at the same time, because that just shows his confidence level is at an all-time high. When he's not doing those things, he's not feeling like his usual self. When he's feeling himself, he's pulling the tricks out. He's doing the back heel passes.
Right.
He's letting guys close him down real close and just making a quick little turn or playing the ball quickly. So for me, and I got some thoughts on Kova, even though he scored 2 and was one of our game changers and saved our skins with 2 goals.
Bring him out.
I got some things. Well, I want to hear somebody who's your game changer too, and we'll shift gears in a bit.
I don't really feel there was a game changer. That was honestly a setup question for you. I wanted to see where you go with it, and you didn't disappoint. You didn't disappoint, and I only did that because I did want to give some shine to Ederson, considering some of the less than veteran or less than pro decision making on our back line that caused us to concede 2. I really didn't feel there was somebody who just really took it for me. I mean, the fact that Kova won on those runs and made those goals, that's the guy. I mean, it's the guy. Phil looked great. Phil looked like a veteran presence. Somebody that everybody kind of glued themselves to in the attack, which I really liked. Bernie played Bernie ball, Jack played Jack ball, Doku played Doku ball. You know what I mean? Like, I can't put any one person, especially up front. Ilkay didn't really have that great of a game, if I'm being honest. He did his job. Thankful he did his job. I think the real part of this for me are the bugaboos in our back line. Conceding goals like that just can't happen. That can't. If anybody's going to even take us seriously going forward in this race, we got to shut that shit down. And I don't know what it's going to take over the next couple of weeks with Pep and the players, especially with the. I mean, our whole squad goes out on international duty. They're going to be taking different directions somewhere else for the next couple of weeks. And honestly, I mean, I think everybody can agree with this. This hurts the team. This hurts the club. Do we need this? Do we actually need this international break? No, we don't. Just like we didn't need the first one in the beginning of the season.
Less than a month ago.
Less than a month ago. And yeah, I think it has to come down to that some of these players start making the decision between club and country. What really means more to you in this moment? Yes, I understand that it's an honor to play for your national team, and even more so as an Englishman. You know, if that was me, knowing my heritage, that would be the one thing that I would aspire to, and I get it. But where we are with how the Premier League is to how club ball is, or even just league play in general, my homies that I'm with all the time, they mean more to me than my countrymen at this point. I'm choosing club, and they pay me a lot more than you do.
Significant amount more.
Yeah. So I don't really care if I make it to that team, especially when we don't. And I'm saying this from the English perspective and the Americans' perspective simultaneously. I'm going to find better words here in a second. You can't. You're just stressing yourself out. You're stressing yourself out too fucking far, and for what? What's the glory at the end of the day? What I would rather walk around knowing that I have the potential of at least securing 2 to 3. That's probably going a little too overboard. 1 to 2 trophies a season. That can be the main goal. Whatever the trophies they may be. Obviously, we're not thinking about the Carabao Cup. We're also not thinking about the dinner plate at the beginning of the season. Nobody cares about that.
Those two, we've won enough.
Yeah,
they're not.
It doesn't really matter.
And this window is it's not even really like World Cup qualifiers. It's mostly for the Nations League.
Yeah,
like
this is all Euro shit. Yeah,
it's the Nations League group stages are not like prime. We need to have the Jack Grealishes, the Phil Fodens, the Dokus, the Kevin. Thankfully, Kevin was like, "Y'all aren't gonna call me up. I'm just got off injury. I might be back after. I am not available. Do not call me up." Because that's something Belgium would do is like, "Hey, he's coming off injury. He can still come, right?" No, fuck off. He's staying with us to recover because the club team is what takes priority.
Yeah, you're not going to destroy our investment. No,
facts.
Not happening.
Like World Cup qualifiers and like major Euro stuff, like I get that as being a solid reason as to why an international break needs to happen. But for like Nations League shit and just like friendlies and things like that, like come on, like this is not. Thankfully, this is the last one this year. There's not another one in November and December, I believe. What's penultimate mean? Penultimate.
Do we have any other ones after the break? That's
shit. There's one in penultimate is not, damn it. That is not the end. There's one in November too. Penultimate is like next to last. It's been a long weekend, folks. I've been in my car a lot, so penultimate was not clicking on what that meant this evening for me. So I apologize, but
sorry.
There's one more November.
We try to come to you as crisp as possible when we show up on Sunday, but I can't guarantee it with the moving parts that happen during the weekend all the time.
I've pretty much drove the entire. Now Delaware is not a big state, mind you. It's one of the smallest ones, but I still drove up and down the length of Delaware this weekend, like twice. So.
Well, and if anybody understands the Bay Bridge crossing the Chesapeake,
did that twice, Saturday and Sunday.
And you did that, yeah. Like that's nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do that. And for anybody over there, that's like being on the M whatever and getting stuck in rush hour traffic, but you're on a bridge over top of a massive bay
with just water underneath you.
Far
down below.
Listen, every time I'm on that bridge, I have like Final Destination thoughts.
Dude,
like they're very intrusive.
This morning, Dude,
I
extra
can't.
foggy. You should. I'm gonna get Steph. Steph took
Oh,
a video like of us going across. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna send it to you. That shit was spooky. Like
yeah.
I couldn't see the westbound when we were going eastbound.
No, no, thank you. No, thank you.
It was not fun.
No. And
Talk
I'm the
about
guy.
puckering earlier, bro. Like it was full on the entire time.
I'm the guy who drives in the middle lane. I ain't
Yes.
driving near the edge.
No.
No, no. You want to see a grown man shit his pants?
That's what will happen.
That is what will happen.
For our friends
The
across the
whole
way, Google or YouTube like
Chesapeake
Bay
Bay Bridge.
Bridge and watch one of the things, and you'll understand why.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Now,
It's not as fun as it is to go to the destination that it typically is taking
yeah,
you to, but no.
the trip over is not great.
Yeah. Back to City.
Yeah. You want to switch gears to maybe where we could have seen some improvement, I guess, and some players maybe that didn't do the greatest job.
I mean, do we want to just do we just want to hit the first one that makes the most sense?
Go for it. Let's do it.
Listen, dude. Okay, so 400 appearances for Kyle Walker. Yeah,
Big moment for him.
that's a big moment. Sure, he could have sat on the fucking bench for the rest of the time. I'm starting to see some of the gripe now with him. He's aged. He has officially aged. His recovery speed is not what it was 2 seasons ago when he was tracking down Vinny in the semifinal. It's not the same. He's not the same. Rico has emerged. Rico doesn't have the pace yet. And I don't know if he's ever going to have the pace. I don't know that he's ever going to have the pace of a Kyle Walker because, I mean, that dude's a fucking horse.
Mm-hmm.
I was not impressed with the way that he played. I'm starting to get a little worrisome about the way that he is positioning himself on the pitch. He knows better. He's a veteran. He should know how to do things a little bit more tactful, especially considering, or maybe he has not realized that he's losing a step. But even in that, you still need to mark your men better. You still need to be in better placement. You want too much of the forward play, and I'm sorry, dude, that ain't your position. You need to sit back. That might work for Rico when he's working centrally, but it don't work for you no more, bro. It's time to sit back and relax. But not only that, it's the central defense that did not strike my fancy, and I don't think it did for anybody. I think everybody was fairly annoyed with conceding those 2 goals the way that we did.
I think, if I'm remembering correctly, first one, Akanji just lost his mark. It was a hell of a backheel cross that Jimenez put in, Raul.
Mm-hmm.
But he, like, at one point, Akanji was nice and tight to his mark. And then as the ball drifted away, he kind of lost focus and drifted away from his mark. And that left left him all by himself. For when the cross came in, all the dude had to do was just poke it in, and it was good. And then for goal 2, nobody was marking Muniz when he was in the middle of the pitch.
No.
John seemed to like just keep drifting back into Eddie's space instead of stepping up and being closer to his mark. No denial of the cross, really. So with the Kyle thing, I think now that we're realizing, and hopefully he's recognizing, he's doing some introspective there and realizing his pace is not what it used to be. You know where it's still elite is at center back. He might not be elite speed-wise as a right back anymore, but as a center back, that might be the position where we can find a little more success for him. But then you already have kind of a logjam there with, now that hopefully Ake is coming back in 2 weeks. Akanji and Diaz seem to be the first choice pairing, but we're not seeing a lot of clean sheets out of that back too. So maybe it's a Stones rotated in with Diaz. I think Diaz was fine. I don't think his partners in crime back there, aside from Yoshko was brilliant.
Lights out. Best left back right now. There's no argument.
He was like, he reminded me of Ruben Diaz's first season when he won Premier League Player of the Year, where every time somebody was getting a shot off, he was in the way, blocking, putting his body on the line for the team. That was Yasko yesterday. He had so many just blocks as a left back, tucking in, getting covering for his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I put that in into one of my notes when I was watching Sunday or Saturday evening. Just immense defending. Has had several key blocks inside of the box to prevent shots getting to Ederson. So he was just magnificent. But the goal conceding issue is also, I think, a direct result of not having Rodri. As great as Kova is when we are in possession, with keeping the ball moving, with progressing up the field, with getting those 2 goals, he's our second leading scorer right now. He's got 3 goals,
Mm-hmm.
and he's right behind Holland as far as number of goals scored for us after those 2 yesterday. But we lose so much defensively
Mm-hmm.
without Rodri. And like I said, as great as Kova is, when he's not a 6. He's covering and
No.
playing the 6. He's an 8. He's really an 8 who helps defensively. But if there was numerous opportunities for him to track back a little bit more with a little bit more enthusiasm and to break
Mm-hmm.
up play a little bit more, that if that was Rodri, those situations probably wouldn't have happened. I distinctly was looking at some of those transition opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
and again, he scored 2 goals for us, so it's hard to be too critical of him. But as you're our main holding mid, you got to get back with more purpose and more intensity, because there's nobody else there. It's just those 4 defenders, and Rico is being asked and told to play further up the pitch. He's not going to be able to get back there. What Rodri
Mm-hmm.
does so well is reads those moments in transition where he knows that either Yashko has gone really high up or Rico is high up, and he slots in and snuffs out those attacks. So I'm thankful that we have Kova. I think he played well when we were in possession, but when we didn't have possession in transition, it was not great, because
No.
the midfield or the defense definitely has to take responsibility ultimately, but the midfield let those balls get through them and into the dangerous spaces by not doing a great job breaking up the play ahead of time. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, defense definitely held accountable. Midfield also absolutely needs to own some of that too, with maybe not the intensity level that they need to have when we don't have the ball. And I think that goes along with Gundo too, because those two are kind of like the
Thank you.
primary
Mm-hmm.
guys responsible for those kind of things. And it wasn't our usual hunting the ball quickly and getting it back selves. I saw a lot of, frankly, jogging back on defense
Yeah.
from the midfield, and
Yeah.
that's not going to cut it against better teams. Against the Arsenals, against Liverpool's, they're going to punish us in transition if those kind of things continue to happen.
So now I've got to beg and ask for something that I've asked for before, something I've talked on several times. Nunez getting his chance. Okay. Now let's think about this. Okay. He's younger. He's what, 27, 28? He's still got legs on him. He's fast, which means he has a recovery speed. We've seen that he's able to get back, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has the size, he has the physicality. Why are we not using him as a 6 somehow? He works, yes, he works very well up the left, especially when he's worked in the wing and has worked the off-ball movement. But who's to say that he can't fall back defensively and still be a scoring threat? Like, I think he can do both. I think there's a way to do it, but I think that you kind of have to limit how much you push him forward, because I feel like his natural instinct at this point is, I want that ball and I want to put it in the back of the net. And that's all fine and good. Rodri does it too.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to play like him. You got to try to play like him. Find your own little, your thing, but you ultimately got to play like him. And I think that he can.
And with out of his own mouth, like I think it was 2 weeks ago, he's mentioned with Wolves, he played more as a winger on the left, which we've seen him do with us. With City, he's kind of played more of a 10/winger role. But when he played for Sporting Lisbon back in the day, he played in that double pivot. So this is not
Boom.
a new position for him to learn. He
Boom.
knows how to play that 6 pairing somebody else, which I think is what we're going to have to see more going forward, especially against the better teams, because we don't have, like I said, we've talked about this previously. We don't have, with Rodri, you can just put him as the 6 and you're golden. He will cover all
Mm-hmm.
the ground. He'll break up all the attacks. He'll do all the hard work. We don't have a like for like replacement for him. So it might take us sacrificing a little bit going forward and taking a number from one of our attacking positions, either a winger or another attacking mid.
Mm-hmm.
It might have to be a double pivot situation where it's John Stones and a Nunez, a Kova, and
What if
John
it's just
Stones.
him and Rico? That seems
Yeah,
fine enough to me.
yeah, yep. Go back to that tried and true 3-2-4-1,
Yes.
and Yoshko, Ruben, Kyle Akanji, Stones, and then you drop in Kova and Nunez and Gundo in that or Rico. You have 4 guys who can play in that space.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of options, and I'm sure Pep is the man is a football junkie, so he's going through all of these permutations in his head with all the
Has
players
to
he
be.
has. So, but I
If
think
we're doing it, he's got to be doing it. I'm just
exactly,
saying.
exactly. So going forward, the rest of the season, especially against better clubs that are willing to play, because again, credit to Fulham too. They didn't just sit back the entire game; they tried to play
No,
with
and
us.
that was really nice to see. I mean, they did a little bit, a little more
There
so
were some
towards the
times,
end, but they really could have. They could have done that after that second goal, and they still played on, and that
yeah,
is commendable. I mean, they didn't fucking bottle it, if you will, like
yep.
Arsenal. Just sit back, put the fucking e-brake on. That was, and the fact that they're still on about that shit is fucking hilarious.
And they think that them talking about it more means we're like for
They've
whatever
won.
reason
They won
they
the
won
argument somehow,
or they're in our heads somehow. I'm like, you guys are the ones still talking about that shit, and it was 3 weeks ago. Like,
right?
move on. But like, I think against those top teams, we're gonna have to play 2 in that role to cover the ground that our one superstar and hopeful future Ballon d'Or winner did. So, um, man,
Yeah. Well,
um,
nonetheless, the result is the result 3-2.
yep.
We are now 17-0 over them, dating back since 2012. So we have that on them all the freaking way.
Home and yep.
What
Home and
what
away.
are also that also includes FA Cup,
Yeah,
Carabao,
across all competitions,
all
right?
all competitions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um Final thoughts on the match. Final thoughts going into international break.
I will say that it wasn't the greatest match for us to play, but I did appreciate that we went down first, and we showed a lot of spunk, and that really energized us after
Mhm.
Pereira scored for Fulham. It didn't take us too long to equalize. I think it was 5 minutes or so, and we were back level. So
Mhm.
I felt like the response after the first goal was much better. More intensity. The players looked more engaged. They were playing a lot better after that moment. Um, so it wasn't great overall as far as play goes. It wasn't pretty, but we got the 3 points. We responded after going down early again because that seems to be the pattern of play lately at home. We tend to concede early and then have to make it harder on ourselves, and have done a good
Yep.
job of coming from behind pretty much to win, or at least draw in the Arsenal situation. But I hope with a little bit more health coming, knock on wood again, like as many times as possible, health coming out of the international break, that we'll get our horses back in full, um, and getting our 2 injured players back that should be coming back in KDB and Ake. That that will help with the defensive things, because Ake has been one of our better defenders. Yashko has been brilliant in both the attack and in defense, but adding in Ake, who's one of our better 1v1 defenders and one of the just better defenders in general, and adding an additional left-sided guy, because I think that might be part of it. Sometimes Ruben has to play as a left-sided on the left side as in the center back pairing. It's nice to have a lefty in that role to balance things a little bit more. And I'm just praying and going into this window that health is what we get. I don't care about any of the results for any of our boys. I don't care if any of them score goals. I'd be pretty happy if they all ride the pine the entire time.
I'll take it.
A lot of room for improvement for us against Fulham. I'm sure the lads and Pep will take those lessons learned and work on getting better, because it hasn't been beautiful football lately. But like I said earlier in the game or in the podcast, we got the 3 points and we're still in second place. So
I really don't like that we're mirrored to Arsenal. I really don't.
Same goal differential, same points.
Yep. We are.
Yep.
It's still early. There's still a lot of season left. We're in what?
7 matches.
We're 7 matches. We got 31 weeks left.
It's a lot of points.
There's
still.
A lot of football to play.
Can we just quickly touch on Jeremy Doku's goal? Because that's really been what people have been begging for from him, is the final product, either in assists or goals. But man, that third goal was pretty. He
smashed the fuck out of it,
and he absolutely smashed. And you saw it wrong-footed the keeper.
Yeah.
Because of the bend the English that he put on that ball. It looked like it was just going to curve right, and then that sucker just took off into the top corner, and that thing was moving. When they started showing the replays of it, I was like, he got all of that ball, and it was quick feet, getting himself away from the defender, and then not hesitating and just putting his foot through the ball, which is what we need more of that from him. Obviously, we want to see more goals and assists coming from him. But man, that was all of the potential that we see in him wrapped up in one play.
So, yeah, it really was.
And again, he's only 21, guys. He's still got a lot of room to grow.
So much blossoming to be done.
That part right there, exactly right, man. He's gonna be him and Savinho, man. They're 20, 21 years old. What?
Let's hope we can keep that front three in contract. Let's just hope about that. I mean, we're going to talk about the future here. Yeah. I fully agree with you. I mean, Doku definitely embodied everything everybody has wanted out of him since day one. I'm glad everybody got it. Now, my question is, will you get off his ass? Because he's done more than enough contributing to this team since he's come in. I mean, he's not been Savino. I mean, everybody's different. You're not going to get the same cut, copy, and paste bullshit from one player to the next. And the sooner you get that rhetoric out of your head, a lot happier you'll probably be in life. Because I feel like I see a lot of people on there just bang on shit that it's out of your control, dude. Mm-hmm. And you're not that player. Who are you? Who are you? We have to ask ourselves that question sometimes too, to be so hypercritical. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's no room for it. It doesn't make sense because all you're doing is that goal. Wow. End product.
He'll get there.
He'll get there. It's exactly what we're saying, dude. He will get there. He is working his way, and you have to understand that Pep is a clay master. Okay, he's molding right now. You have to appreciate the process in which it will take for him to mold him to be the player you ultimately want to see. He's showing flashes of it, and that's the reason why he's here is because Pep saw that. Pep said, "I'm going to polish this. I'm going to form it right, and then I'm going to polish it, and then I'm going to give it out." Look at everybody we've brought in since Pep has come along. Oh, but Kev. They've
Better
all
than
turned into. They've
yes.
all came out of this place better than they were when they walked in. Calvin Phillips is the exception to that rule.
Yes.
He's the exception to
That
that
is
rule.
that is not the case study that we're using.
No, he's
The
far and
evidence,
away.
the overwhelming evidence is players come in, they play under Pep, and they improve themselves dramatically. And also to go along with that, that's the reason why people keep wanting to come play for Pep because players know that he's going to get the best out of them.
Yeah. Yes. You nailed on the head. That's just.
Boom.
Yeah. Come here. I'll give you one of these.
Let's go.
2 times. Um. uh, we go into this break. Um. Where we're at, I can't ask for more. It is what it is. Could we have not drawn a couple times? Sure. That's not where we're at. Where the journey is the journey. Take it as it comes. With that, we're gonna go to a scotch of a little break. And then we're going to come back, talk to you about some city news, get into Rodri, talk about injuries, talk about the ladies, a little bit of EDS, and then that's South Stand sign. God damn it! Yes, that was. We'll get to that in a minute.
What up? We're
Yeah,
back.
we're back. Make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure that you check out that thing right there. You just hit that little QR code if you're watching on your TV, right? Take your phone, click a picture, take you right to the store, take a look at what we got there.
You can also visit this way as well.
You
There's
can
the
also
link.
visit that way. We don't like to say it out loud because YouTube are a bunch of dickheads and they will literally cancel you for doing that shit. I'm fairly certain. Was it Tony or um wasn't Tony? Somebody asked about shirt, right? They asked about the bullshit shirt. And I put the direct link in the comments, and I don't think YouTube liked that very much because it made it very difficult for him to get to. But if it's difficult for you to get to, here's a good other way to do it. Make sure you hit that more button below. It'll give you the full detail of the episode, and it'll give you all of our links for you to check out. So go ahead and do that after the show. Let's get into Rodri. Life after Rodri. So we kind of started doing this last week, talking about what life will look like after Rodri. We're going to continue on with it as the weeks go on because we see just from this past match against Fulham what it's kind of looking like. And Joe touched on it a little bit earlier, especially with both Matej Kovacic and Ilkay Gundogan kind of rotating in that swing, that six role. Pep in the presser walking into this week had said, of all the players that we have to fill up that space, he feels comfortable with what's there. Well, I think we kind of saw two pieces that did not work out so well in this one. And it's not to say that their capabilities aren't useful on the pitch. It's the fact that they're not used to playing a defensive role. They're used to playing in the attack. They're used to helping the build-up. Them not being a part of it, that may hinder what they're doing, but all in the same, it's just keeping a body in front of you, is it not?
Reading the game and having those natural defensive instincts. And as helpful as Kova and Gundo are when we have possession, it's those instincts when we don't have the ball, which is why I've been fairly consistent with who I think is our best replacement in that role, which is John Stones, because he's a defender first. He has those instincts, but he has the ball skills, the passing ability of a midfielder in a body of a defensive person in a center back who will help out defensively first and foremost, but also be able to, you know, play with the ball at his feet, distribute, because that's what Rodri has been so good at that people can't replicate from that six role. Is he
Mm.
wins the ball, he turns into space away from pressure, and then he is finding and distributing the ball out to put us into a quick transition opportunities. And his ability to do that is an elite level, which is why he's being nominated for Ballon
Ballon
d'Or,
d'Or.
which is why he's winning players of the tournaments and taking home hardware and all of those things. So there's continued rumor mills coming out about players we're being linked to from around Italy and Spain. I think you'll continue to hear those names. I really don't want to jump into specific names because they come and go throughout. We still have 2.5 months until the window. We don't know what the club is thinking at this point. We can speculate all we want about certain
And
players.
historically, they do not play games during the fucking winter window. They just don't.
Very rarely do we dip into that
Yeah.
space. So unless
Claudio
we,
Echeverri is the nearest thing that we've had that will, I guess you consider, constitute coming in during the winter. That's the only time that I've seen it, at least in the last 5 years.
yeah,
So
Laporte I think is our biggest
Laporte,
winter
yep.
winter signing, and that was out of necessity because we were at that during that season. Center back was just absolutely dismantled with injuries, so we had to bring somebody in. We had no choice but to go spend top dollar.
Mm.
So I still feel like at this point, winter window won't see a lot. We might find somebody on the not discount rack, but on the smaller value, smaller amount to bring in just as an extra body. But we still, like I said, 2.5 months to go. There's a lot of tweaking that Pep can still do. And for me, honestly, like if we're gonna go into the window in the winter time, I would rather see them shore up and get another body in defense, considering how uh, Rico is being utilized as more of a midfield forward option, and Johnny being such a asset when he plays in that holding role. I would like us to maybe go find an additional defender because with Ake being out, we've been very kind of playing with fire at this point with being really one injury away from being in trouble in the back line. So I
Mm-hmm.
if we're going into the window and spending money, I would like to see it on a defender at this point in time because I think there's enough that we've talked about on the club right now that can be creatively used to cover for Rodri with multiple people and kind of shore up the backline area, which we're when we have had injuries, that's historically been where we've been hit the hardest. So for me, I would rather see the winter funds, if there's going to be any, go towards reinforcing the back line a little bit.
I honestly couldn't agree with that more. I mean, that's it's very clearly where our weak spot is. Our depth, funny enough, is most concentrated in the midfield. Because if you look at every player that we have, they're not an out and out winger. I mean, they are, but they're not considered by the site. You know what I mean?
Especially
They'll
who started.
tell them it's a midfield. The only real forward we have is Holland. I think they consider Savino technically a forward, a true out and out forward on
Him
on the
and
page,
Doku
but that's it.
are legit wingers, but who
Yeah.
started on Saturday was Jack and Bernie, and both of those guys are playing wing and have played wing a lot. But I think they're more
Are
natural
natural midfielders.
midfielders.
Yep.
Exactly.
They're more natural midfielders. And you saw that, and I've said this, and we've talked about this time and time over. Jack was not a winger with Villa. He worked down the wing, but he always found himself working in centrally, which is what we've tried to establish with him over the last couple of seasons of how having him work in that way. He's not. There's still times where I don't feel he's really that comfortable.
Well,
He looks
when
better. He looks
when he
better,
when he picks
but
the ball up out there, where does he always go? He's not looking to get on his left foot as a left winger and go down to the byline. He is always
he's
looking to
going on the
get
right.
onto his right and to cut in. to be a playmaker there, or get a shot off, or get a right-footed cross in. So he's always looking to get more towards the center of the pitch, more so than playing the byline.
Yeah. Now, Doku will play a little bit more direct and go down toward the byline if necessary. But we saw that he can shift now and makes the central part of the field more of his playground. And I mean, we all love to see that, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't have Savino and Doku are our direct guys. They're the ones that are going to come in at you. Bernie's a little wily. He can do it. Phil's definitely going direct, but I mean, I feel like he's kind of backing off of that idea now. Realizing that he's not really built for breaking through lines. I mean, he's a point guard in basketball. In high school. He's your point guard, and that dude ain't getting through the small forward. No. And more often than not, that's what he tries to do. Is he tries to get through these big body people, whether splitting them or just running right through them. Just doesn't work.
We need him splitting lines and picking the ball up in between them and being dangerous, shooting, and then also feeding the Hollands, the Dokus, the Savinos, and the late arriving runs from the Gundos and Kovas, which we saw yesterday with Kova, late arriving runs. And Gundo, when he was at his best yet on Saturday, was when he was making runs. It runs in behind. We missed him a few times, and he was really close on a couple other occasions where those classic Gundo headers that we've been missing, got an opportunity there too. So that's, I think, Phil's bread and butter, is picking it up in between the lines and either getting a shot off, which we've seen time and again is dangerous as hell on that right side, or splitting lines and finding that killer pass to keep the ball moving and put other guys into dangerous places. So speaking of guys who are capable of that, let's talk Kev. We touched on him a little bit, but reports are he should be back following the international break. He has said, "I'm not going, so please don't call me up," which they didn't do. So he will not be going to report to Belgium for international duty. He shouldn't, right? He should be back in 2 weeks, ready to go out of the break and ready to be playing again. Per usual, they will usually try to give them a game or two coming off the bench to get their feet underneath them. But having Kev back will be a massive help. And he was playing really well early in the season. It looked like vintage Kev, and then of course he picks up another knock, which is what happens with age. We saw this time and time again.
Vintage Kev at this point, right?
Yes. That's what happens to Kev. It happened to Vinny at the same point. Around that 32, 33 season, the muscle injuries, the thigh injuries, the hamstring injuries just continue to crop up, no matter how much you stretch them, no matter how many times you see the physio, no matter what cryotherapy you're doing. This shit happens when you get older, so it's just to be expected at this point. So let's ease him back in. But we've seen in the past when we did that against back in Newcastle, he was a difference maker those first few games, coming back off of a lengthy injury as a super sub, and changing up our attack when the opposition were kind of tired. Minds aren't as sharp as they were from the get-go because they've been running around for 65 minutes. So having guys like Gundo, hopefully down in the future, once everybody gets a little more healthy, and like Kev being guys who come in and just change the game in the second half, that's a wonderful bench to have in that situation. If you're starting guys like Phil and Bernie kind of centrally, and then bring those guys in as a change of pace and with their smarts and intelligence, that's wonderful thing to see. So I'm very happy that it wasn't a lengthy injury and that he should be back here in a couple weeks.
Can I sidebar real quick? You brought up Newcastle.
Yeah.
Did anybody see their kits this past weekend?
I did.
If you did, hit it in the comments that you did. Let me tell you your opinion on it. I typically don't like the Tunes kits. I don't really like the referee stripes. It fucks with me, right?
With the bright ass red on the back.
Right. It really fucks with me. Now they have that teal that they use every once in a while, and their away kits this past weekend they used them
Was that the white ones with the teal like sleeves?
with the teal sleeves, bro. It matched with the shorts, and they have the old NUFC patch on there, bro. I
Did
was
they
in
rock teal
love.
shorts? Did they rock the teal
Yes,
shorts with? Oh,
yes,
that's a
dude.
great look.
That is a good kit right there. I'm sorry, I don't like tooting other team horns. I definitely don't do that on a normal
This is
basis.
fashion, though, bro. This is a
This
totally
is
different
we're
story.
literally, and let's be real. Part of football is fashion, especially at the level we're at right now. If you saw some of the
Oh my
stuff that they
gosh.
put out for the players' clothes for Champions League, bro. I mean, I think just an accessory is like $500.
Hmm.
No, thank you. No, thank
Pass.
you. D
Yeah.
squared. I really enjoyed when they did something with D squared, but this new company they're using now, I'm not 100 on, especially with the fucking goggles that look like Willy Wonka's
Bro.
fucking
Not
bright room shits. You
not
know
a
what I'm
good
talking
look.
about?
I
Not a
do.
good look at all.
I'm glad that they went with a teal to because sometimes they just go like with the all white with that, and that's just
Yeah, and
kind of
that's
bland.
too much.
But when you
Yeah.
pop in the teal, I'm looking at they got one of their female players modeling the one I'm looking at right now.
Hmm.
That's
It's a
that's
good looking
quality.
kid.
That's a
Now,
quality look.
I had made mention of the fact that I think it was last episode, maybe the episode before, about templates
Hmm.
with kits. Right, I've noticed Adidas's template now, and I
Oh
saw
yeah.
it. Yeah, like I don't understand how these high end. What do you call them? They're not sponsors, kit providers,
Yep.
right? How are you not taking the top clubs that you're working with and making specific for them no template that's going around to 7, 10 other fucking teams? Like they're probably bringing in most of your revenue aside from your shoe sales.
Hmm.
Why are you not giving them their own shit? There's a lot of people that were like, oh, well, it was really specific with ours because they put the 0161 on there. And that's all fine and good. It looks good. I thought it was a nice touch, but like I can tell that it looks like Salzburg's.
Hmm.
Same way with this the one we were just talking about, the Newcastle one. I can tell the cut because that's United's home shit and every other Adidas wearing club's home kit.
And that trickles all the way down to youth level because Jordan's team has Adidas as our kit provider, and we
Uh,
have the same stripes like on the side there. We have blue, like royal blue home kit,
yeah,
main kits, and we have that same like white stripe that looks exactly like all the big clubs have on their side. So it's like it goes from top level all the way down to like
down
grassroots and everything too, because
right.
we still use that same template.
That's that's ass.
Yep,
There's nothing special about it at
it's a
that point to
Premier
me.
League club, man. Like hook your professional ones up with something a little more creative
I
than
mean,
them.
in all honesty, think about this. You have 5 major European leagues, right? Why
Yep.
can't you make a design for each of the leagues and
Yes.
they can template that rather than template it across 5 leagues? That's lazy to me.
Yep.
That's lazy.
100%. And cutting corners to save a few bucks here and there
No,
would be my
do
guess.
better, all of y'all. Adidas, Puma. Like
Nikes.
I feel like Castor or however you fucking say it, Castor, what's the Humble. Like at least there's originality in some of their shit.
Right. Right. It's
Even
really the
Capelli is more original in some ways than Puma and Adidas. And that's
uh,
that's a local brand if everybody doesn't know. But
fucking Capelli.
fucking Capelli clubs suck. No, we
Pass.
can say that here and then it'll never get back to all of
Exactly.
them.
That's exactly right.
um ladies, ladies,
Another
stay
win on the board.
undefeated.
No losses for men's or women's on in the top flight yet.
Yep.
We'll see what happens with Chelsea. They haven't played yet, but right now we've played one more match than they have. But the women are sitting atop of the Super League, after a 2-0 win against West Ham today. Lauren Hemp and Mary Fowler got on the board. I believe I saw Lauren Hemp is the fastest to 50 goals as far as age goes. So she is putting in work once again. The women play again in the Champions League this week, midweek. So what up? Thanks for joining us, bro.
Thanks for tuning in.
So
Your new face.
Right? Thank you for being here, man.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
One, I guess, not negative, but something that wasn't great was Jess Park, who has been on fire for the ladies, was out with a foot injury today. Hopefully, it's nothing serious, and she's back soon. But that was the biggest thing off of the team news for the ladies today was, where was Jess Park? She's not even on the bench, because you would think, if they were just resting her for midweek, stuff, she'd at least be on the bench. But she was nowhere to be found in the match day squad. But that was to rest her foot apparently. So, but the ladies doing great things once again. They should be favorites for the women's Super League. Chelsea now without Emma Hayes is ripe for the picking. And we have reinforced our weak area, which was not having an option for Bunny Shaw when she was out, and we have that now. The squad is comfortable under Taylor.
Yep,
ladies are gonna continue doing great things, I think. So I'm most excited to see when they're in the Champions League against Barcelona. That's gonna be, they're both in the same group, and Barcelona has been the pinnacle along with Chelsea when it comes to women's football. So,
hey Joe.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
Hello. Is that better? Appreciate it, bro.
You're so loud.
Now I'm really loud. Am I too loud? let's do that. Is that better?
That's good.
Is that good? Okay.
This is better.
Hey man, this is an ongoing.
Is anybody else getting the crackle? By the way, is it just me, or is Joe crackling?
From me? Am I crackly? Or just for you? Hopefully, it's just for you.
I hope it's just for me. I hope it's the fact that it's Atlanta server. There you go. Nice. Yeah, I don't know if the server in Atlanta is quite up to par post hurricane. We'll get in that a little bit later, though.
That we will. So good stuff with the ladies, making progress there. Also within the club, the young lads, went top of the table. The EDS boys are kicking some ass once again in the Premier League 2. Oh, dude, we get some Rocky from you. I like it.
Yeah, dude, it's really epic to see the EDS doing so well. And Henderson Hall says there's more to come out of this. So I mean, like, what more can we expect? I mean, we've gotten some great products out of this EDS. So I mean, what more is there to come?
That's the biggest thing right there. Is we've seen quite a few boys progress from the EDS into either the first team or be good enough to where other like first team clubs are coming and buying them. So the fact that we're producing so much talent and that team has lost talent because they've been too good pretty much to still be reloading and continuing to like perform so well, that just shows you how good the academy is, the players, the coaching staff, all of that. Been having this debate and discussion with our boys Zach and Jack, who are two of my homies and Colby's homies that are Chelsea fans. And for the longest time, Chelsea, without I don't think there's any question, it has had historically one of the best academies in England. They've produced a lot of talent, but to me, that has changed dramatically over the last 3 or 4 years, and I think the best academy in the world resides in Manchester at this point. La Masia has always been up there with Barcelona, producing top talent. They really only go to up into the first team. We're not seeing them produce talent that leaves the Barcelona academy. They all kind of stay there. For me, the fact that we keep getting academy coaches, managers, directors poached from other clubs to run their shit shows that they know who the best in the business is, and that's us. So, Zach, I've told you this before, and it's been in jest. So I'm going to say it again. The best academy is Manchester City's, not Chelsea's anymore. Y'all had your time, not no more. And I'll clip this and I'll send it to you. Okay, just so we're
It's
clear.
okay. It's okay to let go, Zach. It's okay to let go.
So let's talk about the South Stand. They even got a shout out from the one and only Pep in his pre-match presser too, with the banner that they were able to hang. Pep loved it so much that he was like, "Send me the bill. I'll go ahead and take care of whatever the cost was for
Right?
everybody." And it led to a great discussion in the presser, if I remember correctly. Like he was talking about how much he's ingrained in the club, how much he loves the club since day one. Like he and the club are, like synonymous with each other. He was just glowing during the presser about how awesome the club is and how much he appreciates the fans. So I cannot thank those folks enough for putting that banner together, putting it up there, and doing their part to hopefully continue to convince him to stay and to carry on, and just showing him the love that he deserves at this point in time, because he's given so much to us as fans and as you know people who care about the club. He's just done so much for us.
He's a man
So,
of integrity, guys.
oh,
He has not bullshit you once. Not
in
once.
9 seasons that he's been here, coming up on 10 here next year, hopefully. Like
Right.
he's
And
he's not.
the only
Go
reason
ahead.
I even bring that up is because there are still those whom are, the keyboard cunts, as I like to call them now, that like to sit
Mm.
there and type away about the fact that he hasn't renewed, and there's a dude. So what? Okay. First of all, second of all, he hasn't given you anything verbally to make you think otherwise that he's not going to end up renewing. He has said in pressers that he is closer to retiring than he was when he started. Nothing more.
That makes perfect sense because he's been here for 9 years. So of
Yeah.
course he's now going to be close, and he's getting older.
Yeah.
So there, that don't read into that
Already
like he's
managed
saying he's
2 other
done.
clubs before us.
Yes, of course he's closer to being retiring at this point. He's like, come on
It's not
now.
a wild statement. He means what he says, but at the end of the day, that doesn't mean he's gonna just up and give his love up for this fucking club and for this game. And it's just not gonna happen. I think you're gonna see a resign, and I think the more this piles on, especially with that stand being held up in the South Stand, how much we want him to stay, showing him that in that type of way. How is he not? How could you not want to sign at least a 3-year extension? And I think that's just the way that it's going to go with him. He's just going to continue to extend and continue to extend until the point where he says, "Hey guys, it's been great. My
I'm
bones
done.
are starting to hurt. I'm done." He will give everybody um that satisfaction of actually telling you rather than playing the guessing game, because he hasn't been playing the guessing game this whole time. Everybody makes him out to be that he is, but he's not. He's taking one thing at a time. I don't think people quite understand or grasp the the gravity of what he has to control on a daily basis. Can you imagine what he's thinking about in the offseason? I'd hope to God nothing, unless it's football.
Yeah. One thing on Pep, and then Hal has a good question. I think that we touched on briefly at the beginning, but we can hit a little bit. But of course, it's international break, which means it's rumor time again, and
Sure.
and they are some city accounts are, because I guess Sam Lee from the Athletic has brought up an old you know tweet, I guess, about what they talked about with Pep at the end of last season. It's making its rounds where Pep is expected to leave at the end of the season as decided at the end last season. The board is trying to do everything to make him stay. That's the exact same shit that was being said in May last year. There has been updates since then from Pep himself that Colby just mentioned. So let's not do this big city accounts. Let's not recycle this shit again. We did this last time where we were talking about Nunez and his arrest. I'm putting that in air
Right,
quotes.
that didn't fucking happen.
Let's not do this already. We're just starting international break. Let's not start throwing around rumors and putting shit down as fact where it's been said from Pep himself they will make a decision like in November, December. They'll sit down, they'll talk, and they'll make up their minds at that point. That's what's been the company line from Pep himself. There's who you're talking to back channels doesn't know what Pep is thinking, what he's doing. I don't care how close they are, how great of a source that you have. Pep has told us exactly what we need to hear. We know the timeline for when decisions will be made, and that
Right.
is in a couple months, and we'll have a better idea.
And that is called integrity.
Yes,
and accountability.
And again, if you listen to him talking this past week, he's talking about how they asked the Premier League for an extended start time to the Premier League season because of the FIFA Club World Cup going only being 4 weeks in between. That wasn't enough time. A guy who has already made up his mind that he's not going to be back after this season wouldn't be talking about next season like that. He wouldn't be talking about the FIFA World Cup in the way he has been. He wouldn't be talking about the results of the 115 case. He wouldn't be talking about wishing the Premier League would actually take them serious about extending. That's not the signs of a dude who's checked out and ready to go, who's already said that he's leaving and decided. That's a dude that's like, I love it here. I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure out an extension in December. That's how I'm reading all these comments from him.
Well, and it's all about perception too. And I feel like we talked about this over and over again. And this isn't me ragging on the other side, but I honestly feel that there is a bit of this at play. Take a vitamin D pill every day. It might help out.
It's good for you.
And it's just good for you. It's just good for you to get some sun. And I know you don't get a lot, so if you can curb it somehow, you take some vitamin D, and maybe you'll see this a little bit differently.
Been Wednesday, Thursday, I think we hit like 12 days in a row with rain and cloudy weather. This past weekend, last 2 days, lots of sun. I feel significantly better in my just mental health and mood just from having the sun out.
Absolutely.
Totally feel different. So
again, we know that those sunny days are hard to come by. So to curb that,
take a little.
Get some vitamin D. Get some vitamin D from the farmer guy. I don't know what you guys call him over there, but go get some. It's not expensive.
Nope.
And it's something that your body is supposed to make.
Yeah.
So just
supplement a little bit.
Just supplement a little bit, man. Don't make it worse than it's gotta be, man.
There you go. Hal, knowing that this part of the season is Pep's playtime, where he's trying to figure out formation and who's playing where do you think he's going to land in December, January formation wise? I personally, we mentioned this briefly at the beginning. I hope he goes back to the tried and true that worked so well in our treble winning season with that 3-2-4-1 formation. I think that given the personnel that we have right now without Rodri, having two in that midfield role to cover that same space that Rodri's able to cover is in our best interest, since we don't have somebody who can do exactly what Rodri can do. I hope we land in that hybrid 3-2-4-1 formation. That's where I think we'll end up getting the most out of the talent that we have currently available to us. So that's where three of them, baby.
Because I agree. I mean, that really is the only way that really makes sense. We don't have enough defensively to cover for the loss of Rodri, period. We need at least two players to make up for one person. And if we can have somebody side by side, whether it be Nunez and Rico or Stones and Rico, or it could be Illy and stones. There's so many different combinations that we can move with the pivot to fill up this gap of having him gone. I think that 3-2-4-1 makes the most sense, especially if we're wanting to still work heavy on the attack as much, or work more so on the attack. You see us working more on. I mean, we're playing out of the back, but we're playing on the front foot, or at least we're trying to for the most part. And I think that with the attacking pieces we have and the lack of defensive pieces we have, that is the best route to go forward.
Good question, my friend.
Yeah,
especially referencing the play time, because that's spot on. This is exactly what Pep does in this November, December, January window or time frame. Is which formation am I going to settle on? Which 11 am I going to settle on for the stretch run come March, April, May? So good point.
Yep,
good point.
Yep. And just think about this too. I mean, that's just a guess. I mean, we still have several players coming back. I mean, who's to say Ake couldn't fill up that role? I'm sure that he'll probably be worked, still more so on the left back if needed, or centrally more so. I mean, I think Vardiol has cemented himself as our left back. He's not going or switching positions at all. So I think he's stuck there. I think we'll see Nate a little bit more centrally. But again, this is another chance for him to prove his worth by moving up into that pivot role if necessary.
That dude can play anywhere you put him.
He really can. He really can. So, that's really it for City News tonight, guys. We're not going to do any of our Who's That Baller this week. We're going to take a little time off of that. I don't want to ruin it. You know what I mean? It can be
fun. It's a fun game.
It's a fun game. It's a fun game for everybody, but it will go entirely too fast. I'll burn out of stuff, and then we won't have any content to do with, and then everybody just like, oh, I've already seen that one. And then, I put in somebody that has no connection with City, and we get a comment of, why isn't it City connected?
For fun, man.
Yeah, because not everything. Our worlds might a little bit revolve around this team, but not that much.
There's other stuff.
There's other stuff too. You got to be worldly. You got to be rounded.
A well-rounded individual.
A well-rounded individual. Yes, we try to be that here.
We try.
Let's talk about our kids this weekend. So, if you guys don't know, we both have children who play at the youth or the grassroots level here in America. There is the potential that we might have some of my kids' teammates in here tonight. If you're in here, give us a wave. Say hello. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out. You guys did a smashing job today against Maryland United. Oh, and Joe, and I'll say this right off the bat. So probably shouldn't be doing this amongst rival teams and parents. But Joe fed me a little intel in terms of this particular squad that he had a bit of an issue with, as they tend to like to dress too many people that don't have all the right equipment and then try to sub them on. I didn't get to tell you this yet, Joe. The girls tried to do it to our girls. I'm
not making this shit up.
I warned the coach. I warned the coach, and he tried to brush me off, and then it happened to him. And I didn't even say anything to him after this game. I was just like, I'm gonna let that one hatch on its own, because I put it there and I made it all cozy for you, and you chose not to pay attention to it. And there it was. It happened.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, absolute smasher of an afternoon. One of the guys got a hat trick. Aiden had 3 assists. There were several other assists. It was a barrage of goals after the first one hit. It was really awesome to see. It was really great to see that they were their coach is starting to implement playing more out of the back. And it was honestly like watching a 7v7 Pep versus Ten Hag. That's how dismantled this other team was. They were literally the one kid that was on there. I think his number was 36. He was a big motherfucker, and I'm pretty sure he was playing down. They're
also known for that too. This club.
Yep. he had a really big boot on him, but that's really all he had. He had no coordination, he had no nothing. Their couple of midfielders they had, they were aggressive on the ball, right? But they could not take the ball away from us, even as aggressive as they were trying to be. It was awesome. You guys,
Any
god damn it, that was so good to see.
Anytime Maryland United, again, for our folks across the pond, if you're watching, of course, when you hear United in there, it get cringe a little bit. But Maryland United is one of the most disliked clubs in the DMV area. Anytime you're talking amongst other fellow soccer families in this area and you bring up Maryland United, everybody does the same thing. They roll their eyes and go, "Oh, Maryland United. We know how they are." And everybody knows it. So it's like anytime they catch an ass whooping like that, it is absolutely beautiful thing to see, especially when it's our boy Aiden doing the ass whooping. So appreciate that, bro. Yeah, that's a good topic, Hal. The
We got like 3 episodes without any I think it's actually 4 episodes without any footy. So stick around. We'll toss that into the
yes,
into the middle of things. We'll run over and discuss because we've got a lot of opinions. I assume that you're relatively brand new to us. We have made our opinions well known about the MLS. So
and the U.S. soccer structure in general.
The U.S. soccer, yeah, we are not fans of it at all. But we that's a good thing, good topic. How we'll dive into that. Thank you for that tip. I like it. Let's talk about your girls.
Ellie Ellie's Liverpool squad had a 3-0 domination shutout win in DC, in the heart of DC, in some rec center on god awful turf. Where
in DC were you?
It was close to RFK. It was the Watkins Recreation Center. Really nice neighborhood. Yeah, it was like in the middle of a neighborhood.
Revamped southeast.
Yes, it was actually a really nice neighborhood. It wasn't crappy. The driving, we were like, wow, this is a really nice neighborhood. We never live in here because I'm not living in DC. But it's really nice to drive through because it's actually pretty. But the turf was pretty much the turf pellets and a little bit of fibers in between, so that it was not great. It was a small pitch, and they had to bring the goals in, and it was like on a 60-yard football field. So there was no goal box. So there was little cones as like the goal box. It was not an ideal playing situation, especially when you're playing and / paying a lot of money for your kid to do these things. You would kind of expect that the away team or the home team that is hosting the match is going to actually have lines painted in a proper pitch, but it was not that. So it was nice to go in and thoroughly kick their behinds. Yeah.
This is turf and they don't have fucking lines?
They were football lines, American football lines.
Football lines.
The football the footy pitch was like probably it was either a very big 9v9 or a very small 11v11 size. So it was not the appropriate size for our U10 girls. So the pitch was, and it was on one of those in the corner, in the far corner. It was like a baseball thing, so you could see like baseball diamond in there too. It was
a true multi-purpose.
Yeah,
American as fuck made.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man,
that was not great.
I'm sorry, dude.
That's the worst one we've been on.
I appreciate what America tried to do in the 70s and trying to, put multiple sports into one place, but like it didn't work then.
Yeah.
Why are we doing it now?
I would take like the elementary school grass field that hasn't been really cut over that one that we played on. At least the lines were appropriate for footy. But the second half, man, much like what you had mentioned, the ball rarely, if ever, came onto our side of the pitch. We were in their attacking half pretty much the entire time. My kiddo plays kind of center half in this 7v7 setup, and you got a taste of it a little bit from last week with when you brought up like her movement and the way just she like runs and turns her hips, and the amount of times that she turned away from pressure from a like a bigger, like a pretty big, not very skilled but pretty big kid running at her. The feinting like one way to get them to come this way and then turning away from the ball to her right side away from danger and into space. Like it was, I was just so proud. And she got one of her wingers drove the ball much like Doku down the side and just played it back to her, and she absolutely smashed it from range and put it in past the keeper, so she scored again. I think that's her third goal this season, and she's one of the leading scorers. She's one of the leading scorers on the team, and she pretty much has played exclusively center half. So when you're scoring that many from her position,
from way downtown,
that tells you a little something. So I couldn't. And this was her first game after the club had announced. We mentioned this last week on last week's show that she got Player of the Month for Liverpool across the whole academy on the girls' side. So she this was her first match from when they posted it all on the social media. So all the other parents were congratulating her, and her teammates were excited for her to see her picture up on their social media sites. So she had a great day. She said if she played well, she wanted to get a toy from Amazon. So Dad's going to be chopping on Amazon here in a bit to honor the deal, since she played she played well last weekend when you guys were there. But she felt like she could have done better a bit, and she was like, if I do well and I perform, can I get this? And I was like, no problem. So she definitely earned that, and I'm so excited to watch her again. My older daughter that I coach, her team, we had a match in Frankfort, Delaware, which is almost in Rehoboth, Bethany, in that area.
So I know where the fuck that is.
Yeah, that was a solid 2 hours out that way. This is a team we've played before. It's always pretty physical. We were down our top 3 strikers, so we were kind of having to play a little piecemeal a little bit. Ended up losing 2-1. Hotly contested match, so really, really good game. Personally, my daughter Jordan is the keeper. She played fantastic. She was aggressive, much like Ederson off her line. Made some key stops. Her punts were amazing. So she played really well. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a win as a group, but selfishly, my kiddo played great. Once again, she's been very consistent with her play, which is what you really like to see. Her energy, her effort, her passion for the sport just continues to grow, and you can see it on the pitch. And as a keeper, you always want them to be pretty vocal, and she's more of a quieter individual naturally, but she's starting to really find her voice on the pitch and projecting it, because she talks a lot when she's playing back there, but she's starting to be able to project more to where her teammates hear her more, and the parents are like, we can really hear Jordan talking more. And she wasn't before, but now she's really starting to find her voice. And the things you love with sport across anyone you're playing, is the lessons you kind of learn, and the growth you make as like a human being. And for her, we want her just to, because she's one of the nicest human beings on the planet, and so go with the flow, nonchalant.
Wonder where she gets that from.
Maybe Dad. But she's starting to be more assertive, and I'm hoping she takes that lesson from the pitch and utilizes that in her day to day, because that's one of the main reasons we want our kids to play sport, any sport growing up,
of course,
is to take those lessons that they learn in apply them in real life. So I'm really happy to see her growth. Both of them. It's been, even if we don't win with the younger one with Ellie, I really don't care about wins or losses too much. I just want to see the performance continue to get better. And then with Jordan, she's at that age where we're almost at high school, so wins and losses do matter a little bit more. And you want to, and I love the competitiveness that I'm seeing out of her. When we don't win, she takes it harder, and she really cares. And I just spent a lot of time in the car this weekend driving to these games, but like honestly, that's okay. I love the time spent on the pitch with them, watching them play, watching them grow. It's just I wouldn't change my weekends really at all, even though I'm constantly on the move and at practice and games
Homeboy
with
don't
them.
stop.
No,
He
no.
don't stop.
Friday nights are the only ones off.
Let me ask you this question, and this is kind of just a me to you, but obviously everybody here will hear the conversation. And because we have the time, there's been a weather delay for the
Ah.
Cowboys Steelers game, so we're good. What? So I've been kind of working through this personally, especially with Aiden. Um, when you finish the match and you get in the car and you're on your way home, do you have a certain time limit or like so many things you'll say in the car before you kind of shut the communication down, or do you just leave it as it lies and wait for them to talk to you about it?
Typically, because we're cleaning up, and since I coach, we're usually one of the last ones off the pitch. So we usually spend a little bit of time walking from the sideline with a quick debrief about the match and how I felt she performed. When she gets to her mom, they have a quick, like, usually, because honestly, like Jordan's been super consistent with her performances where I haven't really had a lot to critique. There's just been a few things we need to tweak. But usually she gets to mom, they have a quick, like, I'm so proud of you. You did so well today. It's all on the pitch right away. It's pretty much all positives. You did this really well. Really proud of how you talked. We had been talking, whatever we've been talking about that week, which we want to kind of highlight in the game. Like oftentimes it's like we want to be able to hear you talking, directing your teammates more. So it's like, hey, I heard that today. Great job with that. We get in the car, we sit, and we kind of just try to let everybody just decompress the emotions for like 15, 20 minutes, especially after a loss, because everybody kind of feels those a little bit more now, especially because
A
they
little more
count.
tense. A little more
It's a little
tense,
more.
yeah.
We want. She wants to win. We want to see her win,
Sure.
and the team win, obviously too, not just her. Since we're heavily invested in the squad at this point, but we usually try to give it like 15, 20 minutes down the road before we engage in any kind of real conversation. And then if she's not ready to talk, we'll kind of give it a little bit more time, but we kind of feel her out on her vibe. She's in true keeper fashion. Within 15 minutes, 20 minutes, as much as she cares about it, she's like a goldfish, like Sam. It's, you put it behind you, we lost, but like we're not going to dwell on it too much. So as a keeper, that's an essential trait,
Yep.
especially if you let in a goal. If you dwell on it too long, it's just going to lead for another one to come in. So you have to be able to flip the switch and say, I'm not going to think about that anymore. So she does a great job of not, letting it get to her and not stewing on it for too long. So Ellie's a little bit more aggressive. So we tend to give her a little bit more time before we dive into things, because she's more of the fireball of the two. So, and she's not afraid to let you know how she's feeling. So if she's like, I'm not ready to talk about it, we gonna give her some time.
At least she's vocal about it.
Yes.
At least
Yes.
she's vocal about it. Yeah, I it's as I'm, first time parent. We're all doing this, for the first time. We can only go off of what we learned as children.
Yep.
And for me, it's, I my parents supported me. I won't say that they didn't, because they did. Their interest level to the point of being able to have a fluid conversation was never there. So I didn't get the talks after the game. It wasn't,
Hmm.
it was always just like, if we lost, you can do better next time, or if we won, yay, you won. It wasn't anything elaborate. And
Right.
so I find myself now being, you know, once upon a time a child athlete, and then now here I am an adult as a parent. How do I talk to my kid about sports without making them anxious or overwhelmed or whatever it may be? And I have to still try to catch myself talking with Aiden about post match stuff and how he felt on the match and things that I saw and what have you. And he's a little bit delicate. His his
Right.
his frame of mind. He loves the game, and I think that's what I should lead on with. Is he loves the game so much that he just wants to be the best, and that's commendable. He has a good squad around him, and I don't think that he should ever really get down on himself too far because he has so many good pieces around him, and they're all just being sharpened. You know what I mean? They're
Yep.
all dull blades. They're all getting fine tuned throughout the season, and that will progress on to the next and the next and the next and the next. Um, but when I get to talking to him and I start getting on the technical side of things, uh, I feel like I lose him sometimes, and I recognize that, and I hear it, and I see it, and I try to take myself back. So now I've gotten to the point of when he comes off the pitch, we typically clap off the players, and then they come over. I'll get down on one knee. I'll whatever emotion he's in, I'll console the emotion, and
Yep.
then we'll talk about it later when you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're ready.
When you're ready.
But we are going to talk about it.
Right. Because it is very important that you do talk to your kids about what's going on. You do need to keep them in some sort of, what's the word, repetition of having open conversation with you, and them feeling free enough to express themselves in their emotions and how they felt about the game, and then maybe that's your teaching moment and your consoling moment all in one.
Right. Yep.
It's quite a adventure to maneuver, but it's really fun. And I hope for those of you who are out there who have kids and or don't have kids yet and are planning on having kids and they go into sports, like, do the right thing. Don't make them hate the sport.
Ugh, that part right there.
Don't make them hate the sport. There's nothing more deflating for a child that loves something so dearly for it to be ruined because you didn't teach them well.
Yes. That.
So I think that kind of wraps up the kiddo talk. We're
Yep.
pushing in close to the 2 hour mark. I do want to leave this off on a sad note. I know that this has been a massive story here in the United States. I know that it has absolutely nothing to do with football, but it has everything to do with how my heart feels about this, and I want to speak
Yep.
about it. Um, if everybody knows, in the past week, Hurricane Helene came up through the Gulf and did quite a bit of damage to the northern Georgia, western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee area to the point of complete and utter devastation. There are roads that are completely closed down where people cannot get in or out. They have not had electricity or water for over a week now. This is very, very serious, especially as we're in the point um, in America where we're in election year. This is probably the most massive election that we will have seen in our lifetimes because of the implications, because of the policies or lack thereof on one side or the other. I'm not going to talk about either or party or lead in any type of way that will let you believe to or see or hear my political views or stances. On the whole, as an American citizen, this hurts me that our current regime, if you will, has not effectively done anything and is more worried about foreign affairs than they are at home. As an American, as a person of any country, I think it's only right thinking that you think about yourself before you think about everybody else. And right now, there are thousands of people that are disbarred and displaced in our country and have nothing. So one of the things I wanted to try to do in this was for T-shirts. We do have a store. I was going to take one of our T-shirts and donate anything and everything that we get to the what I forgot the town's name already because I'm getting them in my emotions. It's not Slippery Rock. It's not Slippery Rock. I feel like it's Broken Rock, something like that in North Carolina. Obviously, I'm going to look up the details. I should sound a little bit better knowing what I'm talking about when it pertains to the subject. But this is the town that's been most affected by this hurricane. There's a lot of nefariousness that I see that's happening. If you know anything about the way a hurricane works, most of the damage is done when it hits landfall on, it's whatever beach they get on. It doesn't wait until it gets halfway into the country to decide to make the worst of it. That's my personal feelings on it. There's something nefarious way far and beyond most of our understandings, but it's not hard to look up either. Nonetheless, we set our hearts out to everybody in Eastern Tennessee and Western North Carolina and Northern Georgia in this time. This is a really tough time in our nation. And I hope that the universe does the right thing and opens itself up to these people and allows the aid to flow in and get their care taken care of. It's very, very hard. Chimney Rock. Thank you.
Got you.
Joe. That's so easy to remember too. I feel like such a shit. But
don't feel like a shit. Don't feel that way.
Yeah, it's just
your heart is in the right place. That's a small detail.
I care about my country, and it's not to sound like an uber patriot. It's not to sound like what most of you may think if you're leaning towards the left of a MAGA supporter. That's not really my stick. It's I want to see my country thrive, as well as others. I know that England, you guys go through your shit. Being that it's a monarch and you have a very ridiculous system that you don't really get much of a say in what goes on over there, and that's a shame. But we feel that over here too, because we the common person don't get a say in what happens with our country anymore. It's not as clear cut as it used to be, where we could make changes. It's going to take a lot of us to make a change, and it's going to take a lot of us to come together and realize that there are a lot of differences that the media puts out there that are not really real, and they only make it up to be that way. So I hope that we can all come together through this. I know that we didn't get a lot of reception on the post for this, but I hope that you guys understand just the magnitude. And if you don't, please take your time and go do the research. I'm really on whatever topic it may be, but if you're gonna, try to follow up on this, please do your research on what's going on. There's a lot of bad shit that's happening behind the scenes that's making this as disastrous and as newsworthy as it is. So, our hearts go out to North Carolina. They go out to Georgia. They go out to Tennessee. We love you, USA.
Come together.
Right now. Over me.
That's the message right there.
All right, guys. that's really all we got for you tonight. We want to thank everybody that's come in. Hal, thanks for getting in the comments tonight. He said he's been in here for a while. We thank you for your subscription and hanging out with us. Please feel free to be more a part of the show. He dropped a potential topic that will be going on. You guys want to throw topics at us? You want to hear our perspective on it? Please let us know. It doesn't hurt anything. It just makes the show better because then we're getting you engaged. And that's really what we want. We want you guys to be engaged. We want you to be a part of this. This isn't just two heads talking on a screen. This is all you. This is all of us. We are all one. We are Blues. We all represent the same thing. We all have the same love and the same care. Let's just come together and do it. We appreciate everybody that's coming in. What, Joe, I'm going to let you pick it. I'm going to let you pick it tonight.
I get to pick La Musica.
He gets to pick the musica.
We are gonna go with. We're gonna go with this right here.
We might get in trouble for that.
That's the end of the thing. It's the end of the episode. If they cut this part out, it's no big deal.
Fuck you, YouTube! Everybody, see you next week. Actually, not next week. Wednesday. See you on Wednesday. Gotta give him the breakdown, man.
Colby's going full drum solo right now.
Yeah! Let's go!